They are
Mic
an
check.
accident waiting to happen.
Stephen A, hush your mouth, talking all that noise. You can hate all you want, but we still them boys. Dirty, dirty D, Texas where we stay at. Be inside in order till you know that's where we play at. Hey, this year, this the payback. Yeah, we them Cowboys, and nah, we don't play that. Work, this is Cowboy Nation. Work, welcome to Cowboy Nation. Work, y'all can keep on hate. Work.
Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation. The Dallas Cowboys have a game this week, and it's very possible that by the time that the game gets here, the Dallas Cowboys will be mathematically eliminated from the NFL playoff race. In order for the Cowboys to make it, they would literally have to win every game. The Eagles would have to lose every game, and that is highly unlikely. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how we can replace Matt Eberflus. I feel like that should be the very first order of business when you talk about offseason, is going to be replacing Matt Eberflus. I'm starting to think him and Kenneth Murray, just the more film I watch, I feel like him and Kenneth Murray must be doing this on purpose. I mean, because I was an offensive guy. I'm not even a defensive. First of all, I'm not qualified to be a coach anywhere, right? I've never coached at high school level, much less in the pros, right? I've played at a high level, but never coached. So I'm sorry, I don't have that experience, and I know for certain that me and matter of fact, not even ChatGPT, Quantum Neuro Edge AI. I think if I had an entire 15, 16-hour day like most coaches have to do, with me, Quantum AI, and a team of other NFL experienced defensive coaches, that I could probably create a better defensive plan than what Matt Eberflus did. So that's going to be what we talk about today. I went to Quantum Neuro Edge and I looked up some stuff. But before we get into what I looked up as far as who should replace him, I got two things to ask of you. First thing I got to ask is for you to hit the subscribe button. I'm almost to 500 subscribers, and I desperately need to get there before this season is over with, because let's face it, you guys just don't watch as much in the offseason. So I'm desperately trying to get 19 more subscriptions. Help me out. Send it to your friends, somebody that you know would enjoy this content. Let them know that, hey, you need to check this guy out, because he's a real fan and he really defends the boys. I think that's the reason that anybody would subscribe to me. Number two, this episode is actually brought to you by the people over at Bounty. Bounty is a television show that is coming to Tubi this Friday, and they have a watch party on Friday online. And I'm gonna give you just a little bit, of a trailer, just so you can see what the television show is about. And if you're interested, you can look at the online watch party this weekend. The link is in the description. Here we go.
I'm starting a fugitive recovery team, and
Wait.
I need you. Welcome to the Bounty team. Officially, I got a whole team of gladiators. Chris, Valentina, Stacy.
Okay, that's it.
Whoa, please, I'm through.
We got action, Chris. We got...
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Good shit, Valentina.
Bounty on Tubi starts December 19th. That is this Friday. Hope you guys are willing to check that out. Again, the link in the description to the online watch party. So let's really get into it a little bit. Let's get into who Quantum Neuro Edge decided was the best fit. Let's talk about it. Who's the best fit to replace Matt Eberflus, because replacing, I have to call him a name, replacing Eberflus should be the number one thing that we do. So here it is. Here it is. I got it pulled up. Let me pull it up here. Hold on. So the very first thing that we asked was simply who were the number one names that you thought, because we asked a couple of questions, would replace Matt Eberflus. The number one name on Quantum Neuro Edge's list is Al Harris, who is the Bears defensive back coach. He's also an ex-defensive backs coach and passing game coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I know that the Dallas Cowboys like to bring people back, and I know that everybody really liked what Al had, because under Al Harris, we was an intercepting machine. Under Al Harris, the Chicago Bears are an intercepting machine. There's just something about the way that he coaches defensive backs that really turns up the and I think it has as much to do with that as why Deron Bland isn't as good as he was and why Trayvon Diggs hasn't been able to play. I mean, I really think it's coaching. I mean, it's definitely coaching. That's why we're trying to get rid of Eberflus. Now, I know that there are some recent conversations that Al Harris pretty much let Trayvon Diggs get away with whatever he wants to. That's what made him spoil, and now that's why Schottenheimer doesn't or isn't excited or happy about what they're getting out of Trayvon Diggs now. Now, I really don't know if that's Brian Schottenheimer or if that's Brian Schottenheimer having Eberflus's back, or if that's a situation with Jerry Jones, because I was watching the DLLS podcast after the game the other day, and they seem to think that possibly that's a Jerry Jones thing, right? It's not a coaching staff thing. It's a Jerry Jones thing because they didn't like the way that he teamed up with Micah Parsons in a very, very difficult time period for the players and the coaches, right? And they felt like they chose that Trayvon Diggs chose Micah Parsons' side, and now he needed to pay for it. I don't know if that was a 1 year pay for it or a total year pay for it. I don't really know where that goes, but there's a possibility that if it's a Jerry Jones thing, then it doesn't really matter unless he wants him to come back. But, you know, obviously the thought process is if Al Harris comes back, then maybe you don't want to get rid of Trayvon Diggs because Trayvon Diggs is basically in trouble for calling Matt Eberflus out on his horrible defensive design. And he wasn't wrong. I don't know if that means anything, though. Anyway, Al Harris is the number one name on the list. Aiden, I don't really know how to say this name. So is it Durde? I'm not sure. I know he used to coach for the Cowboys. I remember him being here. Still can't remember how to say his name. I apologize. He is number 2. He's the Seahawks defensive coordinator. Obviously, he's an ex-Cowboy. They say that he matches because he has a clean call sheet, match zone spacing. You know, he's a good coordinator. He's available, but they don't think that he would be wanting to make a lateral move, basically going from defensive coordinator to defensive coordinator, because he may have, in AI's opinion, he may have opportunities to go and become a head coach somewhere. So that was the second name. We'll see if that name actually comes up. Joe Witt Jr., if you start to notice, these are all people who used to coach for the Dallas Cowboys at some point. Now, according to Quantum Neuro Edge, the Cowboys love to bring back people and keep that. They kind of promote within, and there's quite a few people that they gave a description. I don't know exactly where it is on my phone. I'm kind of scrolling through the replies that he gave me, but they had a section where they were talking about like all of the Dan Campbells and people who were here, and then Eberflus is one of them who were here before, and then they came back. You know, there's just a plethora of guys who used to coach for the Cowboys, went out and did some stuff, and then came back. And the Cowboys really like that formula. They love to come up with people who used to coach here, somebody that they have familiarity with, because I think that you have to have a certain mindset to coach in this city, and specifically to to coach under the Jones family. So Joe Witt Jr. over at the Commanders, I think that there's a thought process that you kind of get an aggressive style Dan Quinn type of defense. Now that's, good obviously for the most part, but then there's also the possibility of it not being a good situation, right? We just got to the point to where we had players who, could stop the run. And I know that a lot of times Dan Quinn's system is a go out and get them type of system attack. I'm not positive that our new found defensive juggernauts in the middle fit in that scheme. I would think they do. And this is the reason why I think that they do. I think that they fit that system because Quentin Williams was talking about how much better he is under this current scheme with Eberflus, right? Because he gets to attack rather than sitting and reading, right? So Quentin Williams, out of his own mouth, stated that him being able to attack makes him a better player because he can kind of attack, see what's going on, and make his way to the football. And that's better than him actually reading and trying to see what's going on. So that leads me to really want a defensive coordinator that's not going to be asking our defensive linemen to read, like just read. Like I want a defense coordinator that's going to have the defensive linemen attacking upfield because I think that's how we get the best out of Quentin Williams. That's how we get the best out of Kenny Clark. That's also Diggy Zuo's strength. And then you'll notice that your defensive ends will start to play better, assuming that there is some push up the middle because they're attacking and not reading. When we're talking about Eberflus and his schemes and just the things that I don't like, I really feel like the defensive ends that we have may be better than we can tell because of the scheme for Eberflus. I've been saying this all year. Like he has a scheme. It's not just a get upfield and beat the guy type of scheme. It's more of and I know he wanted to be able to stop the run. So it's kind of more of a hit, read, see what's going on, and then try to get around them, which doesn't allow you to really get a lot of bend all the time. And I think Ezeraku had to get used to that. That's what took him so long to kind of, eventually get into where he was able to get some sacks. I think that kind of kept a lot of people off the field. I know James Houston had problems getting on the field because he'd want to go upfield, right? And we get into trouble sometimes, like Sam Houston, doesn't set his edge sometimes. And I know that can be a problem. And he'll get the screaming downhill, and then somebody will run around him. We just watched, I don't even remember which defensive end that it was in the game when JJ faked the handoff and came back around because the defensive end went screaming down to stop the run, but didn't keep contained on the edge. So again, I understand you get yourself in trouble with that, but I would like to, under this system, just to be honest with you, I'm not sure if we would have kept Micah Parsons if he'd have been able to do too much more than what some of these other guys did, because what they're asked to do in that position doesn't allow, kind of like the same situation, right? You're telling a Quentin Williams type to read instead of attack. Well, I think in this system, they're telling their defensive ends to read instead of attack. And I feel like that brought down the amount of success that we were able to get from the defensive ends. And luckily we did get a Quentin Williams who was able to get a push in the middle, allowed us to get some pressures. But Joe Witt Jr. coming from the Commanders is one that they believe was an actual good choice. And I kind of like Joe Witt Jr. I'm not going to lie to you. I do like the Al Harris situation. I think if I was going to pick two of them that I thought were possible, it would probably be the Joe Witt and the Al Harris situation, because those are the two more likely, I think, specifically because Joe Witt was just demoted in Washington. That's one of the things that it said here in the notes. He was just demoted. So, he's probably looking for, a situation where now he's getting a promotion. Same thing with Al Harris. A defense coordinator position is a promotion. from where he was before. Now with Al Harris, he may still be a little bitter because he wanted the defensive coordinator job last year. So there could be some situations there that didn't allow it to happen. But again, this is no research. This isn't me talking to anybody. This is just me looking it up on Quantum Neuro Edge and asking the AI system on Quantum Neuro Edge what it thinks about the situation. If you have your own business and you need some AI assistance or AI security, I highly suggest you go to Quantum Neuro Edge. You can find the link in the bio, in the description of this video. The thing about Quantum Neuro Edge is you can tell them what you want to do, and it will create an AI application for you that will do all of the systems that you need. It really makes your job a lot easier. If you want to be able to take a 3-man office and make it work like a 20-man office, Quantum Neuro Edge is the place. And specifically, if you're in the healthcare, psychiatry, legal field, where there are security issues that need to be accomplished, Quantum Neuro Edge is the place that will set you apart. It starts to make your office or your company function like a major Fortune 500 company. So give Quantum Neuro Edge a phone call if you are looking for a system like that, if you really want to pick up your company's competitive edge. All right. So we'll keep on going. The next thing that we asked was, what are the top coaches? No, that's not the next thing we asked. The next thing we asked was about would Wade Phillips make sense? We only asked that because I was on, I think it was Blogging the Boy. I think it was on the Blogging the Boys page, and everybody was mentioning Wade Phillips. I said, hey, Quantum Neuro Edge, is Wade Phillips a good choice? Absolutely not, is the answer that Quantum Neuro Edge gave me. Its biggest reason is because although he is, and it says that he has a scheme that has always worked, he's been a very good defensive coordinator, but he's 77 years old. That's way too old. Leave Wade Phillips wherever he is. He just doesn't feel like you're going to be in the same situation. I don't want to say nothing mean, but 77 is pretty old. Like, if we've been changing defensive coordinators, you're definitely getting ready to change a defensive coordinator again very soon if you go with Wade Phillips. Okay, so Wade Phillips is not an option according to Quantum Neuro Edge, and I would have to agree. Okay, the top 5 best defensive coordinators in college. They gave a couple names. I'll just start running through these because I don't have as much to say about a lot of them. But Jim Knowles at Ohio State is elite. He's basically brought a new 3-high safety with simulated pressure type of defense to college that they think would translate very well in the NFL. Glenn Schumann over at Georgia obviously has the most NFL-ready defense in college. And I would have to agree. The thing about Georgia is that Georgia rotates its players straight into the NFL. They're able to play almost immediately. And then they take a new group of freshmen, or it's not really freshmen, but a new group of transfers, right? And they get right back to having one of the top defenses in the country over and over and over again. This defensive scheme and his ability to coach defenses makes Glenn Schumann a very, very, very good choice as far as a defensive coordinator coming out of college. Now, these are just 5 names of the best ones in college. Not that the Cowboys are looking at them, that they've talked to them, just to start getting some names out there, because the most important thing is what? Replacing Matt Eberflus. Okay, y'all with me. Y'all with me. Stick with me here. Okay, Phil Parker over at Iowa. They say that that's a good choice, according to Quantum Neuro Edge, because he does more with less. He has continually been one of the top defenses in the country, and he does it with 2- and 3-star talent. He's not getting 5-star athletes because they don't go to Iowa. So he takes 2- to 3-star athletes and he makes a very good defense, and they're ranked nationally every year. So that's the reason why they think that Phil Parker. We also have Pete Golding over at Ole Miss, aggressive, pressure heavy, a good matchup for Brian Schottenheimer. That was kind of one of the things that we look for, somebody that AI thought would actually match up with Brian Schottenheimer. So this is one that they came up with. Again, Pete Golding over at Ole Miss. And then Alex Grinch, I think he is the one that is a co-defensive coordinator. One of these was a co-defensive coordinator. I'm not remembering who. Oh, that's who it was. It was actually Glenn Schumann. He's a co-defensive coordinator over at Georgia. So this one is Alex Grinch at USC. Assuming that he's at his peak, he has one of the better defenses in the country as well. Now, we wanted to see if any of those guys had any crossover with Brian Schottenheimer. The short answer is no. There was some close calls. I think there was one person that Glenn Schumann, he actually came to Georgia the year after Schottenheimer left Georgia is what it actually was. But nobody actually crossed over or was on the same coaching staff as Schottenheimer as far as in that group of names. So if they were going to rank those defenses, I think the Jim Knowles at Ohio State and Glenn Schumann over at Georgia would be the top two best, what they call Brian fit grade, right? As far as people who are in college that actually could do a decent job. We don't know if any of these names, Al Harris, Glenn Schumann, Joe Witt Jr., any of these names would be choices, conversation, or thought for a job to replace Matt Eberflus. I have no idea. We really don't even know if Jerry wants to replace Matt Eberflus, but I definitely think that he should. I think it's really hard to go into next year or this offseason without replacing what everybody is talking about, right? So this is a business. This is a business, and Jerry runs a business, and sometimes he has to make decisions based upon his pocketbooks. Well, your pocketbooks, Jerry, require people to want to support, and nobody wants to support if you're going to put the same thing on the field next year that we saw this year. See, when we were going 12-5 every year and then getting in the playoffs, but then getting blown out by Green Bay, I mean, that was depressing, but it was a 12-5 year, and it was the third 12-5 year in a row, right? And then the San Francisco thing, it made you sick, it made you upset, but your team went 12-5 that year. So it was easy to get behind and still stay excited the next year. And then you went 12-5 that year, right? So now we're still excited all the way through. Yeah, you get into the playoffs and you don't make it, and everybody talks bad about you, but your people stay excited. So you barely won games last year, and then you came in this year healthy. See, last year we could overlook it because you weren't healthy most of the year. I mean, you had sometimes 15 starters out last year at a time, right? So yeah, we weren't faulting you. I mean, some of the haters were, obviously, but the true fans could easily get behind it. If you want your true fans back, Mr. Jones, not that you watch my show or care about anything that I have to say, but if you want your true fans back, you have to make this change. You cannot allow Matt Eberflus to come back in next year, and try coaching this defense again and expect us to have any type of excitement for the 2026 season. Well, that's all I got for you today. I am going to come back. We are going to talk about the game with the Chargers tomorrow, and then we're going to do another Quantum Neuro Edge focus on who they think should win. Right now, Quantum Neuro Edge is 3-2. They did have the Cowboys winning last week, and they did not win. So they are 3-2 as far as picking winners of games. We'll see how it fares coming into next week's game. So we'll kind of talk about that. Probably going to talk about that all together. I'm not going to separate the defense and the offense. We're just going to talk about can and should we win? I think it's going to be difficult if you play defense like you did last week to stop this Chargers offense, because I mean they got some boys over there. So we'll get to talking about it tomorrow, man. Y'all come back to me. This is your boy D Will. This is Defending the Boys. I'm out.